everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today's going to be a bearded dragon video. I am going to do the update on Michi. So in my other video, I told you that Michi had an accident recently, and I'm going to explain everything about that in the video. Before I bring him over here, because once you watch him, you're going to be like, okay, don't do that again, but once you watch him, then you're gonna be like, So, the behavior you're gonna see is normal. So don't get freaked out. I already went to a vet and they watched him and so on and so forth. So, let's go back to April. Let's see, when was this? So here's Michi, he's alive. He still wants to kill himself. He's okay. He's alive. Except your toe. You keep dislocating your toe, bud. Let's go back to, I think it was April 2nd. I'll figure it out. But it was a Sunday night, and I was in the process of reorganizing my room in the bedroom, and I had some stuff on my bed. I wanted the dragons out, so I got, this was before I got Norbert. Maybe it was like a day into getting Norbert, but I had Michi out. I was taking turns between Michi and Kepri, and I had just put Kepri back in his cage, and I got Michi out. And Kepi being Kepi and Michi have a thing. Kepi and Norbert don't really have a thing. It's more of Norbert being angry at Kepi. And Norbert and Michi don't really have a thing. It's, again, Norbert being angry at Michi. Michi doesn't care for Norbert, just in, the long run. So, Sunday night, it was around 6 o'clock. It's 5:55. 6 o'clock. The accident happened at 6. Michi was on my bed, and I was on one side of the bed and he was on the other side, and he's really good about just staying on the bed, and if he needs off, I'll gently lead him down. And he saw Kepi in his tank, and he was angry, so he's doing his bobs towards the edge of the bed, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I do have a rug on the other side of the bed, and so I saw him trying to look down to see where he was, and Michi's fallen off things before. However, I don't know what happened specifically with him, but something happened. He miscalculated. The bed was in, because I have my cover on my bed, so I don't know if he was trying to go straight down and the cover moved him, whatever, but he didn't land right at all. So, from my understanding, is Michi was trying to go off of the bed, and something happened, and you're gonna see, I'm only gonna do it for a second, so please don't yell at me, because he doesn't have things for it right now, but I know, bud. I know, Norbert's being mean. But anyway, so he got off of the bed, something happened, and he landed on his back. Now, from that demonstration, I only did it for a short amount of time, but I could have left him there, and he has no reflex. And for beardy owners, you know what reflex is, for them to right themselves up, because they don't have a diaphragm, and their lungs collapse when they're on their back. So that's why it's dangerous to have them on their back, because they can't breathe. So Michi fell flat onto his back on the concrete, and I heard it. And I'm like, oh God, I hope he's okay. So I went to the other side of the bed to check on him to make sure if he's on his back, he can be righted up. Okay, you can go down now. I'll bring you back later. But he was flat on his back and he wasn't moving. And I'm like, oh my God, something bad happened. So I write him up because I'm like, oh, he just can't breathe. No, he was flat out cold. He wasn't, I mean, literally cold, but he wasn't awake at all. And this is where panic set in, because in these kind of situations, bearded dragons are so delicate. Like anything can go wrong at any second. And that's what I've learned, specifically with Michi, but also with like anything right now. So I started to panic. I thought this was it. I thought he was dead. I started shaking him. I started to kind of pump his chest a little bit because he was not moving at all. His eyes were closed. His mouth was open. It started to get black. And I was like, this is it. He's dead. So I remember watching a video of a woman who more or less had the same experience. Something like impact happened to their dragon and they got knocked out, but they were able to regain consciousness, and she did CPR on him and just put him to recover in a spot. So I was too terrified to like try to attempt CPR. I did try to push on his chest a little bit, but I don't think it really helped much. So I put him on the floor on my side of the bed, and I was losing it. I was telling Michi to not leave me. He can't leave me right now. Please don't do this to me. It was bad. So I start sobbing. And I call one of my friends, who is the only person I can contact right now. Like, I don't have any friends here, especially people who know about beardies. So I call the only person who I think about in the moment, who lives relatively close by and can offer assistance. And so they come over. Well, actually, I start off the conversation. I think Michi's dead, which is not a great way. So they're like, oh, what? So they come over and they help with the recovery. At this point, by the time they had gotten here, Michi had started to open his eyes and start to like gape. He wasn't breathing from what I could tell, but he was gaping. And I know that that's also not a good sign. So they know a little bit more about dragons than I do. So I had my stethoscope from work. And so they could hear the heartbeat, which was good. So it's beating. And then they could hear relatively the lungs when he inhaled, which it took him 3 hours to relatively fully recover. He, don't look at me like that. He started to wake up again, and I could just tell there was something wrong, obviously, besides the major incident that occurred. Number one, he's not breathing on his own. More or less, like, he's not inflating his sides. He's doing the mouth breathing. And I'm like, that's not right. So I'm panicking. There's no vets open. And it's Sunday night. There's no vets open for even cats and dogs. So, emergency vets. So I'm like, I have to go to work in the morning. And I'm outreach, meaning I'm not going to be at the hospital, meaning I can't take him to the vet anytime at all tomorrow. So I'm like, this is it. This is how he dies. It was bad. So the intrusive thoughts and the anxiety was sky high. So I've blocked so much out of it, of my memory. I don't remember Monday night or Sunday night. I remember Monday night because that was my lowest low I've ever had. But Sunday night, I keep him in his cage. I take everything out of his cage and I put like blankets, like an incline to the heat side and then regular over to the cool side. So I don't have anything in his tank because I don't want him climbing on stuff and falling off again. So I keep him in his tank overnight, and when my friend was looking at Michi, they could tell that his tongue was pink, obviously meaning that it's getting oxygen. So somehow he's getting oxygen, which is good. And so now that I know that he's able to get oxygen, I'm like, how long can he last like this? Monday morning, I'm outreach. I go to work. I go to the outreach location. And on my way there, I am trying to call every vet that is available in Sioux City. And I called 6 places, and they either had a reptile vet but wasn't there currently, it would be out for the week, or they had one and was available, however they're booked till the end of the week. So I'm like, great. This is how he ends. I try to take him to the vet and nobody's available and he just kaputs. So I was panicked during the night because I know with a trauma kind of situation like this, like the nighttime is when like it's 50-50. They're either going to or they're going to make it through. So if you hear anything over there, it's Norbert being Norbert. But I was panicked, anxious for the first 24 hours to see if he would make it through. And he did, obviously, because he's here. So then on Monday, I am trying anything. Like I even got my mom involved of her calling vet places to see if anybody's available. I called my vet in Omaha because I have established care there for Michi. And Michi literally just got a physical in March. He's healthy. He just got a physical. So I called my vet. I know, Norbert, it's so bad. The biggest Bob. Anyway, so I called that vet place and I was like, can I please talk to the doctor? And they're like, she's not available right now. And I'm like, okay, here's what's going on. This is what happened to Michi. This is what he's doing. Currently, I can't find any open available vets. What is your recommendation? And they're like, we can try to squeeze you in at this time. And I'm like, I live in Sioux City and you're in Omaha and I'm at work and I have to go to work tomorrow and you guys aren't open after 5. So the timing isn't working out. I don't know if you're tracking what I'm saying. Then she caught on and then she's like, oh, okay. I'll let the doctor know so-and-so, whatever's happening, and we'll get back to you. And I'm like, okay, I'm currently at work right now. If I don't answer my phone, please just text, email me, whatever, the update. And she's like, oh, okay. So she's like, we don't really use email, but we can use voicemail. And I'm like, fine, voicemail, whatever. So the entire time, it actually was a good thing that I did back-to-back echoes because I didn't have time to think. I did take a 30-minute lunch, and I cried on my 30-minute lunch because I was talking to my mom, trying to coordinate all this stuff, and then she starts talking to me about what could happen, and I'm like, stop. So I started crying because I'm literally... Monday night and the beginning of Tuesday was absolutely horrible mentally because I, honest to God, thought that I was going to lose Michi. I'm not going to say that. This is actual wood, so I can knock on it. But he probably should have died then. So, it is a miracle. He is alive right now, I can tell you that. So, Monday, I call that vet place. She gets back to me a little bit later and voicemails and says, the doctor said, yes, this is respiratory distress. And I sent them a video of what was happening. And they were like, yes, this is respiratory distress. You need to get into a vet ASAP. And I'm like, okay. So I call a place that has a reptile, not specifically a reptile vet doctor, but they treat them. So I call this place, and I feel bad for them because I did call them at least 3 times because I forget who I called. And I'm like, do you guys service reptiles? They're like, yes. I'm like, did I talk to you? And she's like, yes. I'm like, sorry. It's a crazy morning. So I tell them, hey, I know I called you earlier about this situation. I called my place in Omaha and they said he's in respiratory distress and I need to get in. And currently, you are the only place who has a reptile vet. Yes, you're fully booked, but is there any way that I can get in sometime soon? And so they talked to the doctor, an amazing doctor. So she agreed to come in earlier and do a vet visit for him. So Monday night was was the worst night of my life so far because I thought I was gonna have to put Michi down. I was trying to mentally prepare myself for what I might have to do, and that was just making everything so bad. It was so bad. So Tuesday morning, I get a 7:30 appointment, and the vet's not far away. So I do text my work and say, hey, this is what is happening. I may or may not show up right on time. I will let you know. So they're understanding, which is great. So I go at 7:30 and I remember walking out my door and I'm like, I am either going to bring back Michi or I'm going to bring back a body I'm gonna have to bury. So it was turmoil. And it's self-inflicted turmoil, which is horrible. And I had my friends and family try to help me and comfort me, but honestly, they didn't because I did it to myself. I wasn't really accepting of comfort at that time because I'm like, yeah, you may comfort me then, but if I really do have to put down Michi, it's gonna not kill me, but it's gonna damage me a lot. So Monday night was the worst by far. It was horrible. Tuesday morning, go to the vet. For some reason, I didn't feel as in despair once I got to the vet. I don't know exactly why. I go to the vet and I am dead. I have circles under my eyes. My skin's starting to react from crying so much. I'm puffy. I look like death, and people could tell. So they were kind of staying away from me. But I check in, and I get into the room, and I meet the doctor, and I put, Michi out on the table. And, right away, she can tell he ain't doing so good. So she gives him a physical exam, and on just physical exam, she doesn't feel any broken bones, which is a good sign. Because I thought maybe he punctured a lung and he can't inflate it. Maybe, he doesn't have a diaphragm, so he couldn't have punctured his diaphragm, which couldn't have made him inhale. I don't know what happened, but obviously it had to do with his lungs because he couldn't breathe. So then the next step was an x-ray. And so she takes him back for the x-ray. She does it, and she gets back, and I'm like, this is 50-50 at this point. Either she's preparing to tell me really bad news, or it's not as bad as I thought. She sets him back down on the table, and I don't know what that was. And she's very unique. But anyway, she continues to tell me that she didn't see any broken bones on the x-ray. And at first I'm thinking, okay, no broken bones. What's next? What's the next test that you can do? An ultrasound? And she's like, but I can see his lungs are deflated. And I'm like, oh, no, duh. I'm like, yeah. So she continues to tell me that not only are his lungs deflated, the left side, I think, the left side is bruised. Like, not bad, but pretty distinct bruising. So there was blood accumulated in his lungs around in, I don't remember. I'll have a picture up here of what it is for those people interested. But his left side was bruised pretty bad. Both sides were bruised, his left more than his right. When Michi also recovered, he had kind of a tilt. His body kind of tilted and he would favor this side more. The vet explained that that was because he's trying to stretch out his side so his blood can clear out. So the reason he's not breathing is because, number one, his lungs are damaged. Number two, they're healing. Number three, they're painful. And number four, they're deflated. He landed straight onto his back, knocked himself out, bruised his lungs, the whole 9 yards. So she said he will recover, obviously, because he's still alive, thank God. So I was like, well, what is the healing process? She's like, he will heal. Give him time. It may take a little bit, mostly or roughly a week to heal his lungs. And then from there, it's really up to him how long he wants to heal, and then slowly start using his lungs again. So I'm like, okay, this happened right before I went on vacation. And I was recovering from that still while on vacation, so I didn't really film much of a vacation, just watch 2022, and that's basically what happened for 2023, except for the sickness. I didn't get sick. I had a lot of peaceful meditating and time to myself this trip, which is really nice. So anyway, I was like, okay, cool. So I get somebody to take care of him while I'm on vacation. He does great on vacation. And I come back, and it's been roughly 3 weeks now. And I am like, okay, he's still mouth breathing. What's going on? So on vacation, I scheduled him a follow-up exam, which was last week. So it was Saturday. I scheduled a follow-up, and I'm like, hey, I just want to make sure that everything's going okay, that he's healing. I know, Norby, life's just so hard. So I bring him in, and like 2 days before the vet, Michi starts like really becoming himself again. He's not 100%, he's like 88%. He is moving a lot more. He's eating, he's drinking, he's pooping. He's, I don't think he's shedding just yet, but I'm telling the vet, like, hey, he's almost back to himself. Everything seems normal except his kind of tilt that he still has just a little bit, and obviously his breathing. So I'm like, she still does the physical, and she's like, yep, no broken bones. I'm like, okay, what else? So then I'm like, can you do an x-ray just to make sure that he's still healing and there's nothing like accumulating? She's like, yep, to compare it to the first one. So they do the x-ray, and his lungs are clear now, and they're back where they're supposed to be. So why is he still mouth breathing? So she's like, it's really up to him when he wants to start breathing on his own again. If he's gonna start breathing on his own again, he can just have gotten used to breathing like this from his trauma. And also painful. She gave me pain meds. I had to give him pain meds every other day for about 4 days for pain, and that really helped. But he still could be nervous about breathing on his own because of the pain. So he's okay. So right now, he's okay. He's gonna be okay. He can breathe on his own, technically. I think Meech has just gotten lazy and is mouth breathing for now. It could still be that he's still recovering, healing from the trauma. So that is what happened. You can see he's opening his mouth to breathe, but he's doing okay. Yeah. The vet complimented me. She said, Michi has the best bones I've ever seen in a bearded dragon. And I'm like, oh? And she's like, it's because most of the cases that I do see are people with not people, but dragons with MBD, which is metabolic bone disease. And so she was saying that Michi is really good for his age, for his bones. And so she's like, keep doing whatever you're doing. And I'm like, I raised one right. And she's like, yes. So, yeah. We're okay. We're okay. It was rough there for a second, but we're okay. So that is what happened with the Meech. I'll keep y'all updated on how his situation is, if he's going to heal himself, or what. But we'll see. Yeah, he just wants to sleep. He is cuddly still, so that's good. Yeah. So that's it for this video, explaining everything that happened to the Meech. I hope you guys learned something. Number one, excuse all this mess. Number one takeaway, be careful with your dragons. Don't let them fall off of things. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.